Hello.
Hello, happy Friday, everybody. We're still kind of getting things logged in as we like sat down at the very last minute. But anyway, so today, Mr. Moore doesn't even know what we're covering today. I have not disclosed anything to him. He's getting things set up, but he has no idea. Is it working? Is it not working? Okay, there we go. Here, you do it. So today we're going to be talking about how to combine POD with a handmade shop. I know that this is something that you guys have been wanting me to talk about for a while, and I thought about making it a, Tuesday upload, one of those shorter videos. Maybe I'll do it later down the line, but I figure instead let's do it more like a kind of workshop style video. I'm going to be sharing some slides here in just a few minutes as soon as we can get everything to cooperate. Sorry, there's a lot of tech going on around me. But this is one of those things where I feel like for a lot of handmade sellers, especially if you have low inventory, if you are one of a kind, or if you just want to, add more potential to your shop, POD is a good option for some sellers, but not all. I think it completely depends on what you make, what your products are, and
Can I delete this?
yes, and what your goals are for the long term. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up. Are you getting your glasses? Okay, let me see here. Okay, so I think it 100% just depends on where you want to go with your business, because this isn't going to be right for every single business model. This is something that I feel like for some brands, you're going to have a hard time making it fit. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the ways that you can make POD fit into a handmade business model here in just a few minutes. But you really have to think strategically about why specifically you want to incorporate POD into that business model. And you also have to be aware that if you're used to your handmade business model, sales and income, you are going to be making significantly less on POD sales, because obviously your margins are going to be lower. You're going to have to, fork over some of what would normally be just straight profit for the production costs of your product. However, there are a lot of benefits to POD algorithmically. That's a hard word to say. So I'm going to go ahead and there we go. Mr. Moore's grabbing his glasses real quick. We were in such a rush this morning. So we've got Bubbers and Tootsie who are, I wish Bubbers was in the background today. I don't know where he is. He's over there. All right. So I'm going to try to keep this relatively short. That way you guys have time to ask some questions towards the end. The main thing that we're going to focus on today is the scaling aspect of POD, because, obviously when you have a handmade business, scaling gets hard. There are some products that are easier to make, but if you do things like crochet that takes you a long time to make each individual piece, it's going to be really, really hard for you to be able to keep up in the event that your business blows up, for example. I keep thinking about that shop that Jason Momoa shouted out when he bought those cardigans for him and Jack Black, and he shouted out this small crochet seller. I'm like, she's never going to be hard for work ever again, because he got that huge shout out. And I'm sure that, those cardigans probably take a really long time to make. And if she's making them all by herself, scalability there is really, really hard. So, sometimes you have to increase your profits or your prices in order to, just keep up. Which is for her. I really hope she increased her prices after getting such a amazing shout out by a major celebrity. So, POD, it does allow you to have the ability to be flexible with your creativity. You're able to make what you want. You have the flexibility to make some one-of-a-kind pieces, which aren't, going to perform as well with Etsy's algorithm, because you don't have the benefit of repeat sales there. You're still able to build things like your overall customer and marketplace experience score, which is the score of your shop as a whole. And you're able to build up listing quality scores for individual listings that will perform better in search. So there's a lot of benefits there. It allows you to have time for your creativity without having to constantly make. Despite what a lot of these POD coaches say, you don't have to continuously dish out new designs to be a successful POD seller. You just need to have good products that sell over and over again. It's not about making sure that you're feeding the algorithm new listings. It's about getting those listings that you have selling. That's the best indicator that you can send to Etsy's algorithm. So it can allow you to grow without burning out by having to continuously make. You can take a little break. Again, appealing to that algorithm, you've got products that can sell over and over and over again. Now, obviously, you have to create products that people want, but because these products have the ability to sell multiple times, you're able to build good listing quality scores. This is really great for sellers who, have products that are one of a kind or that, take a little bit more time to make, because you have a couple options in your shop that can help to kind of, bring traffic into your storefront as a whole. For example, maybe you've got a POD listing that ranks in search really well because it has sold over and over again. Someone finds that POD item, they click on it, they check it out, they're interested in it, but they want to check your storefront and see if there's anything else in your shop that might be interesting to them as well. And I don't know about you, but that's how I shop. If I find something from a shop that I like and I'm seeing that listing, I want to go to their storefront and see if there's anything else I like. So maybe they found a shirt, with a cat on it, for example, but then they go into your storefront and they realize that you sell all these cool handmade cat toys. And they decide to add one of those handmade cat toys to their cart as well. And maybe the handmade cat toys are completely one of a kind, and you know that those products aren't going to rank well in Etsy's algorithm because there's no way that those are repeatable. I don't know why they wouldn't be. They're handmade cat toys, but we'll just pretend.
Nobody.
Maybe it is the POD listings that get people into your storefront. So, generating those bestsellers, it can kind of give you an advantage when your handmade products are a little bit harder to scale. So there's a couple of benefits to both of these. Handmade, it's unique. You've got that hopefully really unique, cool product that you've put time into making. This is what Etsy's all about. People come to Etsy to look for those unique products. You can incorporate your story into it. Why did you start doing this? Talk about, how long it takes you to make, for example, handmade plant-based artisan soap. Talk about, why you started this business and all the struggles and things that you've gone through testing out multiple scents and suppliers and yada yada. There's so many cool ways to incorporate your story into a handmade business, and you can do it with POD as well. You can still put your story into a POD business, but it's a lot easier when you are the story, when you are the one creating the thing with your hand. Obviously, you're feeding your passion. That's important. POD sellers, I see a lot of Etsy sellers. Mark and I talk to a lot of Etsy sellers, and there are passionate POD sellers, but I tell you what, the POD sellers a lot of the times are not as passionate as the handmade sellers. A lot of POD sellers that we come across are just, in it for the money, in it for the dollar, which is fine. We're all businesses. However, businesses aren't going to grow just on the desire for money alone. There has to be passion there. And that's why, handmade businesses, you're really fueling a passion. And because of that, your customers can feel it. They can feel the passion in your work and the way that you present yourself. So, and not only that, but you're feeding a passion and a, creativity that I'm hoping you enjoy. If you're, spending hours and hours creating like handmade artisan soap, hopefully you enjoy doing that. And again, it appeals to Etsy's heart. We have to be honest with ourselves. I'm a POD seller as well. I was a handmade seller for 10 years. Etsy's heart is still in handmade. Maybe not Etsy as the corporation, but the customers who come to Etsy are primarily looking for handmade. When Etsy is recommending products in, any of their articles or publications, it's always the handmade sellers. POD sellers, there are POD sellers who do really, really well. I'm not saying that POD isn't a good business model, but we all know what Etsy is top of mind. When we think of Etsy, we think handmade. So handmade is going to appeal to that. However, POD, again, it's really scalable. You're not having to sit and make these products and put all that time into sewing, and you can just design something really, really cool and POD does the rest for you. It's passive fulfillment. They ship it for you. You don't have to worry about doing any of that. You can build up inventory. If you're a one-of-a-kind seller and you've only got the ability to list like 4 or 5 handmade items at a time, maybe you add in a couple mugs that fit your business model. Or maybe, you know, if you create plant-based soaps, you create a bunch of, you know, merchandise that is, you know, going to fit with your ideal target customers there who want plant-based products. And obviously we've talked about it several times already, but those algorithmic benefits are so important, being able to create products that can sell over and over again. So don't just throw a bunch of random POD stuff in your shop, like understand your niche. And you want to start with what is already popular in your storefront. So, you know, for the example here, I decided that, you know, if you're a shop that crochets cute little chickens, well, there's so many things you could do with that for POD. Maybe you start making, you know, little journals where people can take notes about, you know, when their chickens need certain things. You could make little chicken stickers, chicken mugs. There's so many fun ways that you could continue with your niche, even if you started out just crocheting chickens. So first of all, you need to look at your shop and decide what is already selling. Is it a motif? Is it a theme? Do you have an entire niche that your shop is already themed in? Are there particular patterns or colors? Maybe you do all floral. Are there any quotes and things that sell really, really well in your handmade shop? And how can you take those products and turn them into a POD product line? So you want to basically expand those products. Make sure that they already fit your brand, though. If we were a crochet chicken shop and we started listing POD products for, you know, football, I mean, I'm sure that there are some people who would buy them, but it doesn't make a lot of sense together. So you want to make sure that you match those POD products with things that already fit your brand. And this is where, you know, all of the times we talk about branding, we do it during the Brand Planet webinar. We want to make sure that we're maintaining a consistent aesthetic. That way we look like a, you know, a cohesive boutique style shop, not just a bunch of random things. We don't want to just list random POD things for the sake of doing it. And I tend to see this a lot with handmade sellers who expand into POD, simply because POD, it's like you've been making with your hands all this time, you know, all the handmade products. It takes so much work. And then when you realize how like much more simple POD is, you're like, whoa, I can just put an image on this shirt and sell it. Wow, that was so easy. And then you just go listing crazy and you list 600 things because it's so much easier and faster than what you were doing. But then you end up with a shop that's full of things that aren't selling anyway. So just making sure that, you know, you are keeping the core integrity of your brand. Now, obviously, validating with eRank is so important because Etsy is so flooded with POD products already. Like, you want to make sure that you're actually, if you're going to get into POD, list stuff that people are actually searching for and that they really want. I recommend checking out the keyword tool first and foremost. That way you can make direct searches. But the trend buzz is also pretty useful. You can kind of see where themes start to pop up. So for example, Halloween is already popping up in our trends, which is insane. But Halloween is getting more, I don't know. We get crazier about Halloween earlier and earlier every year. Last year it was early, and this year I feel like it was several weeks earlier. So make sure that you think about what specifically you're going to sell. You know, if you're selling a birth flower mug in your POD shop, maybe just start with the term flower mug. If you have like a woodland critter themed shop, maybe just start with fox tote bag or bear tote bag, just to see what demand looks like for these types of products. And then obviously, as you start listing these things, you want to ideally look for things that have a decent amount of searches, but the competition is medium or lower. Because when you start out in POD, you'll quickly notice that POD is very saturated. So you also want to make sure that you are at least attempting to find some sweet spots with lower competition. And then obviously, you know, during this research process, just make a little keyword list. You can do that from the bottom left-hand corner of your eRank screen. And just start adding some of those good keywords to your keyword list. That way, during this research process, you can just kind of like power through and research a whole bunch and then take that list and decide later what you're actually going to make. This is kind of how creating new products should be. Most of us put the cart before the horse. We create something because we like it and we think it looks cool. And then we do the research afterwards. And sometimes we realize that that thing we just spent all that time on doesn't have any demand. If you want to start POD off strong and start the right way, do the research first. Sit and actually weigh your options on what you should be making by saving some of those good keywords. And then you can go back, look at the keyword list. Maybe you use our color flagging system and you start, color coding things and deciding which of the things you're actually going to follow through with and make, which things maybe you just want to keep an eye on. Maybe it's a trend that, is popular like last year and you're worried that maybe it won't be popular this year. Just keep an eye on things. And then eliminate things that you realize, oh, well, I had this cool idea, but I guess nobody really wants this thing. And then setting up a workflow is also really important. This is where I think a lot of people get hung up and they get scared about setting up POD, but it's super easy. First of all, you got to choose your partner. I'm a big fan of Printify and Printful. Printful is now owned by Printify, so they have not combined catalogs or anything like that. They're still working as independent companies for now, but they both have their benefits. Printify has a lot of really cool things. Printful has a lot of really cool things. Just keeping in mind that Printify doesn't actually print anything. Printify is more like a hub that hosts lots of small printers. Printful prints things. So Printful tends to have a smaller catalog, but better, in my opinion, for a lot of their products, they have better quality control. Printify has so much cool stuff, and there are great suppliers, but you have to look at reviews and make sure that you're selecting products that are, well rated. And then obviously the most important thing that I recommend all POD sellers plan to do is order a couple samples. If you're planning on listing 10 t-shirts, 10 different designs, and you don't have the money to order one of each of those designs that you've come up with, at least order one of the t-shirts so you know what the print will look like and what the colors look like. And, wash it a couple times, see how it washes. I personally order a sample of every single product. And again, I say it all the time. I'm very privileged to be able to do that. But at least order one thing so you know what you're sending out to customers. And then when you are advertising, when you are creating listing photos, I would recommend trying to, if you're able to order samples, try to use similar photography setups for handmade products versus POD items so that everything looks really cohesive. Customers, they are starting to get pretty savvy when it comes to the mock-ups. And even if you are using a mock-up, that's okay. But make your own. Delete the background from the mock-up that you get from Printful or Printify and stylize something. I've actually got an episode, 2 episodes of the Friday Bean now, where I teach you exactly how to do that, how to take a simple mock-up that you get from Printful or Printify and make it fit your brand so that it is completely unique. No other sellers will have that mock-up. And you can make it fit with the handmade products that are already in your shop by kind of, making the photography setup or the mock-up look like your photography setup. So here's some examples from my shop. These are all POD products and stickers, and I try to photograph everything in a very similar way so that it is cohesive, but it also appeals to our ideal target demographic, which are people who read, modern romantasy and fantasy books. And then with those product descriptions, you also just want to make sure that customers know that these products are shipping third party. I actually have in my listing photos, I don't know if you guys can see my little pointer here. Down here, the last 2 photos basically say that we create awesome designs for book lovers like you. However, we don't know how to sew t-shirts. We don't know how to print things. So we trust that to an expert third party who will take our awesome designs and create them or print them on awesome products. So just frame it as a positive, nobody really will care all that much. You just want to be clear that way. If they buy a handmade product and a POD product at the same time, and those products ship separately, you want to make sure that they're aware of why those products aren't going to arrive at the same time and why they might come packaged differently. I also recommend, if a customer places an order for a handmade product and a POD item, drop them a message. Let them know, hey, this product, I ship this right from my house, but the t-shirts, I actually have a t-shirt printer who does that. It'll come a couple days later, or it'll come a couple days earlier, just depending on what your own processing times are. Sorry, I'm like losing my voice a little bit. What's chat looking like?
Good. Someone asked if you were okay. You said you hadn't been feeling well.
Oh yeah, I started a steroidal inhaler 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm kind of I literally just hit it, and I've only used the steroidal inhaler 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hitting me a little different. That's why I'm
maybe not before stream.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be able to breathe before stream, but maybe I should have waited. Another thing to be aware of when it comes to POD is that pricing is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So you also want to make sure that you are, pricing things for what they're worth, but also not cheapening your brand overall. So handmade products, you need to price high for those. Those are the things that you've created by hand and put a lot of hours into. POD, that's going to be more dependent on volume. You're going to make money on POD based on how many units are sold, because your profit margins are going to be a lot lower for a lot of POD products. So, again, this is where I talk about going into the eRank keyword tool, clicking on the SERPs tab, and trying to look at what others are charging, and then charging in the top 10% of whatever your niche or product is. So you want to set those profit targets. Again, top 10% of your industry is what I recommend. Not just doing what others charge, because there are a lot of POD sellers out there who charge, they're making pennies per sale. And that's not a good look for your brand. If you're selling handmade quality products, you want to make sure that you're also profiting on those POD items as well. You can also do tiered pricing. This is great for artists. If you are painting beautiful canvases and you're selling them for $200, $300 because they take you so much time and they're one of a kind, maybe before you list that hand-painted canvas, you scan it so that you can make a POD printed version, and you can sell it as a poster for $40, or maybe a mug for $25. That way, if someone really loves this painting, but they don't have the money to buy the original canvas, they can buy a version of it that they can also enjoy. And if you sell that $200 canvas, it's not just gone. You can let people know, I don't have the original anymore. The original has sold. However, I do have prints available of the same work. And you can still continue perpetually selling that piece over and over and over again, even though the original is no longer available. Look at all of the most famous artists in the world, past and present. You're never going to own an original Picasso. You're going to get a print of it, right? So this is exactly what any artist, throughout history has done, modern history at least. And then you also have the option to bundle some products. So this would be where you would place an order for some of your own POD products. Maybe you place an order for a bunch of stickers. That way you've just got a bunch of stickers on hand. Obviously, this takes a little bit of the POD element out of it. But maybe you have a beautiful canvas and you offer a matching POD sticker with it, or you throw in some of those POD stickers as a little bonus that they can get. You do it as a little freebie that comes with their orders. And that helps to build up the overall, your overall brand, because people aren't expecting that little extra. But when they get it, they're like, wow, this is awesome. I got this little freebie with my order. So obviously, we want to make sure that we aren't losing ourselves along the way here. I think that this is what a lot of artists fear, is that they're going to lose themselves in POD. So you want to make sure that you let your audience know why POD is in your shop. Like I said, with our listings, we put in every single listing in our photos that we create these amazing designs. We work with authors. We are officially licensed. We create all these great, pieces from books that we love and that we connect with. But at the same time, we don't have the ability to print shirts. So we make sure that our audience knows why we have a third party do that for us. And, example, POD helps me share my art affordably while I make products by hand. You can tell people, like, I spend a lot of time making jewelry or crocheting. So I'm able to use POD to kind of, supplement that. And you can put this in your about sections, product descriptions. You can talk about it on social media. You can put it in your listing photos, just wherever you see fit, depending on your brand. So again, this is all about having that story. Right now, my shop is 100% POD, and I don't think that I've lost any trust with my customers, because when they come to my shop, they see pictures of me wearing the clothing. They know that because the references that we print on our shirts, they're very specific. It's not, it's not something that you could like Google about the book. I think that there are in the bookish industry, there are a lot of people that get on like Goodreads and they just get the most popular quotes from a book and slap them on t-shirts. But Michelle and I read every single book that we're licensed for, and we sit, and every time we come across a part that like really inspires us or a beautiful part in a story, we make a note of it. That way we can make products that might not exist. And we have a lot of products with quotes and things that do well that don't exist anywhere, because that a lot of the people who are creating these products aren't really invested in the niche. So being a part of your own story is really important. And if you can tie that into your POD brand, even if you're 100% POD, it's going to give you a stronger brand overall, rather than someone who just lists a whole lot of everything. Again, the inventory management, POD, when you go from Handmade to incorporating POD in, it almost feels too good to be true. It almost feels like you're doing something naughty. Mm-hmm. So Handmade, you're kind of stuck by your availability, right? Seasonality, if there are times when you have to go on vacation, or your kid is in soccer and you got to drive, at a certain time of year, constantly going to soccer practice, or you get sick, or someone in your family's in the hospital, or you're pregnant. Handmade availability is going to be relatively unpredictable, just depending on how unpredictable your schedule is. Whereas with POD, hey, if you've got to take a little break from Handmade and you can't make anything by hand anymore, the POD stuff's always available. All you have to do is be able to offer the customer support. At least you have that little buffer there that will help you out. You can also advertise it so that there is a differentiating factor between the POD and the Handmade. So in your banner, in your shop announcement, if they ever put that back to the top of our stores, I don't know why they put it at the bottom, I would recommend sticking it right on one of your banners, or a carousel banner if you have Etsy Plus. You can talk about when you plan to restock, your handmade products if you tend to sell out a lot. But you can say, the POD stuff, that's always available. Or if you're using, what's Printify's, what are the ones that ship same, like next day or same day? There are a couple options within Printify that ship super duper quick. So if you sell, handmade party stuff, birthday party stuff, maybe the handmade stuff isn't best for somebody who's a last minute shopper who forgot, their brother's birthday is in 3 days. But maybe they see that, I can get this shirt, this cool shirt, I can make sure that arrives on time. So it's always an option. It's also great if you're one of those people who has a lot of craft fairs that you do throughout the year. Maybe you have to deactivate handmade inventory because you've got a huge craft fair coming up. Well, make sure you don't have to go on vacation. You can just temporarily deactivate a couple of handmade products, or the things that you're afraid are going to sell out during the craft fair, or if you just don't want to, deal with it. And you can have those POD products available. Maybe you've just got, some stickers and some mugs that are available while you're at your show. And you could even put it in your banner that, I'm at a craft fair, POD products are still available, but handmade products will be returning on, July 5th, for example. So for marketing, it's going to be much the same as, marketing any business model. I'm a big fan of email marketing. By the way, Handmade Alpha Academy students, I will hopefully be getting those module 5 email marketing lessons updated by the end of the day. I'm editing those today. Doing social media marketing, talking about your design process, order some samples. Like whenever you get a little extra money, just order some samples so you can use them for your marketing. Just keep in mind, it's all a tax write-off. You could also order some POD samples and then run a giveaway through your social media. Maybe you order samples of a couple mugs and then you do a mug giveaway. Now, obviously, you're going to have to package those up yourself and send them out to the giveaway winner, but it's a great way to, grow your social accounts. You can also make sure that you are connecting those product lines to trends. So you can always check eRank's Trend Buzz, you can check the keyword tool, or you can just be aware of trendy things that are already, popping up in stores. So Handmade Alpha Academy students yesterday, I posted in the group because Hobby Lobby just announced that Highland cows are going to be like their big fall trend this year. Okay, so if you sell farmhouse decor in your Etsy shop, maybe you do handmade wooden farmhouse wall signs. There we go. And you notice that Highland cows are trending, and it's going to take you a while to be able to make a line of wooden signs with Highland cows because it's a quick trend. You could hurry up, get a couple POD items that fit your existing shop, maybe some mugs, some things that fit in the kitchen, maybe some hand towels to hang on the stove, and you could potentially get out those trending products a little bit faster than what you could produce those handmade products so that you can make sure that you're taking advantage of a relevant trend that fits your brand. And again, this is all about profitability and driving bigger carts. This is such an awesome thing because if you've got those handmade farmhouse wall signs, for example, and they're like, $150, well, what if somebody's in your shop and they notice they've already got the $150 item in there, but they see a really cute sticker that'll look great on their Stanley cup. They're like, oh man, the sticker's only like $2. I'll add that to my cart. Or man, this mug is only $15. I'll add that to my cart. So it's that add-on psychology where they've already got a big, purchase in their cart. What's one more little cheap thing? It makes adding a couple more small items to their cart not feel as significant when they've already got something in their cart. Hence, why when you're going through a checkout line at the store, they've got all that really cool stuff right at the checkout line, or, lots of cool little bargains lined up at the checkout line. That's like how it is when you go to Home Goods and TJ Maxx and Marshalls and all those. They've always got all the cool stuff at the checkout line, and you're like, well, just one more thing. Well, this is cheap, just one more thing. So again, as always, this goes for any product, whether it's handmade, POD, digital. You want to make sure that you're measuring your results, tweaking your listings, repeating what works. So using eRank's listing audit, you can kind of look at those POD listings to see, what's working for those. The traffic stats tool, if you have your Google Analytics connected to Etsy and you connect that up to eRank, will actually show you what keywords people are finding your specific listings for. It's the only way to get that data. So that's some really, really valuable insights, understanding what keywords are bringing people to your shop. You can compare how your handmade products do versus your POD products. And, in most cases, handmade probably will do better. Just because there's a uniqueness factor, but you can still compare and see if there's anything you can do to help the performance of those POD listings. If you've got a couple POD products that you launched, at random, maybe you did a couple of those cute little Highland cow stickers and mugs, and you notice that those are doing really well. Okay, that's a good sign. Maybe Highland cows are something I need to incorporate into my handmade products as well. So maybe you roll out a whole Highland cow collection, both of POD and handmade products. Maybe you've got all different handmade signs, farmhouse wall signs with Highland cows on them. But then you also have, some shirts and some giftable products that are all themed. So you create a full collection all themed around Highland cows. You can take those high performing handmade keywords. So when you're going through looking at your traffic stats, seeing which keywords are working for your handmade products, and you can start incorporating those into your POD listings. Again, if you've got a Highland Cow farmhouse wall sign and you see, okay, Highland Cow, my shop is being found for Highland Cow. My listings are being found for Highland Cow. I need to get that keyword into some of my Highland Cow themed POD listings, for example. It helps you to identify, what's working. So, final thoughts, and then we'll get into some questions. Again, we don't want POD to replace our craft unless you hit like a roadblock in your life where your hands are no longer able to create the way that they used to, which it happens. I've had plenty of students who have just either they've got a disability or they've hit an age where their craft is just no longer realistic for them and they replace it with POD. That's one thing. But most crafters, I think, they don't want to stop crafting. We want to make sure that we're using POD to help to basically provide an extra leg to our brand so that we are strengthening our overall brand and helping to, maybe push attention to those handmade products. Sorry. So we want to think that handmade is like the heart of our business, right? Handmade is the thing that is going to connect people to the overall heart of our brand. POD is like the gas. POD is what's going to help us to produce more and to kind of scale things a little better. eRank is going to allow you to, make informed decisions, to look into the keywords that, you could use for these POD products that you're adding to your brand so you're not just wasting your time. And obviously, it's going to help free up some time for you. Hopefully it allows for more flexibility. Hopefully it allows you to hit some markets that you wouldn't otherwise be able to reach because maybe you don't know how to print t-shirts. And hopefully it frees up some time so that you can spend more time actually crafting with your hands if that's what you love to do. But that's all we've got today. I forgot at the beginning to mention that this week is the very first week that we're running our charity for the Trevor Project. Please consider donating down below. You can donate directly from the button. We do the Trevor Project every year for Pride Month. They provide phone lines, chat lines, text lines to anyone under the age of 18 in the LGBTQ plus youth, community that doesn't feel that they're getting the support at home that they need. They help with suicide prevention. They help kids who don't feel like they have, a supportive, community that's accepting them. They do so much. So please consider donating via that button below. I also wanted to point out that we only have one more Friday bean until Handmade Alpha Academy opens. Hopefully I'm feeling better by then. Handmade Alpha Academy, that is my 9-module Etsy coaching program. It is completely self-paced. You get 12 months of eRank Pro when you join Handmade Alpha Academy. So you get that all included. If you like the way that I teach, hopefully you're not judging the way that I teach on today's video alone because I feel like doo-doo. But if you enjoy the way that I teach and you've watched some of my videos and my teaching style connects with you, it might be something that you want to look into because when you get in there, not only do you have this massive community of fellow students, but you also get lifetime support from me. So anytime throughout your journey you need help, all you have to do is drop me an email and I'm there to help you. There's no cutoff on, support. I've actually had students who have asked me like, okay, when does my support end? It doesn't end. There's no cutoff on that. You also get the Product Photography Essentials Workshop by Coach Christina Nicole. So if you have issues with product photography, or if you're worried about, your photography setup because all you have is a smartphone, she teaches you how to do everything that you need to do with just your smartphone. So highly recommend checking her out. She's got a great YouTube channel, but you do get one of her programs for free with HAA, and you get annual access to our Alpha Holiday Bootcamp, which we hold each year. That is going to hopefully be in September this year, but it's going to help game you up for the holiday season. We usually have guest speakers. We talk about marketing and, ways to optimize for more holiday sales. But if you have questions about Handmade Alpha Academy, I also love answering those live. So feel free to stick those into the chat. Oh, Science and Snark Girl, thank you so much. I appreciate you. that is one big donation.
We love you.
Yes.
All right, on to the questions.
All right, let's do it.
Gabrielle had asked when Critique Week starts on the 14th. No, we don't do streams on weekends. Critique Week will start that Monday. We'll do streams all week, and then probably a Friday being that Friday.
No, we're doing critiques that Friday.
Okay.
Yep.
Monday
to Friday.
Is there a good video on how to start a second shop? I've never done it, my shop is doing well. I'm scared to hurt it somehow.
You won't hurt it.
The process is, I mean, it's virtually identical.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt your existing shop. There's nothing that's going to hurt it. You just want to make sure that you're ready to start your second shop. So making sure that you've got everything that you're going to need, because the process has likely changed a lot since the last time you started a shop. So you want to make sure that you are completely ready to fill out things like your bank details and all that. Make sure you've got all that on hand. Because, you know, there's like, you have to fill that stuff out immediately. And then just making sure that you have the time. There's no videos on it simply because everybody's schedule looks different. Everybody's time looks different, and it's going to completely depend on what you sell. But you know me, I'm not a fan of creating more than one shop until you have at least one shop that's performing well. Otherwise, you know, you don't know, if you don't know how to make one shop successful, what makes you think that you'll make another shop successful, right? So at least get a working formula so that you can replicate that process and continue building businesses that perpetually succeed.
How does POD work? I don't like not having control of my products. What if they don't like it? Returns? What if the company does something wrong?
That's kind of one of the sacrifices with POD. So if the person doesn't like the products and they need to make a return, they would be then returning that product to you. I really discourage those who get into POD. I discourage a lot of POD people from not accepting returns. And I know that that's crazy because you have to, if you accept a return, it's like, what are you going to do with it at that point? Most returns are going to come back to you and you eat the cost. That's one of the unfortunate payoffs of POD, where you're not having to do any of the real work other than designing the product. But every once in a while, you know, you might need to eat the cost of a product to give awesome customer service or risk a bad review if they order the wrong size. Now, if it's a completely custom product and like you've printed their name on it, that's a little bit different. But that's just kind of one of the trade-offs. And, you know, I think that you're not going to see it happen very much. You can get great sizing charts as well. You can even buy sizing charts on Etsy from different sellers that fit your branding. They'll customize them for you and make them look really nice. If you are, you know, worried about people ordering incorrect sizes. As for, you know, what if the company does something wrong? Usually, at least with Printify, if there is a misprint or something like that, you contact Printify directly and they make sure that the correct item gets sent out if there is something wrong with the print. A lot of POD companies will take care of that for you. You just apologize to the customer. You're like, oh my God, I'm so furious for you. I don't know what's going on with my supplier. I will get a hold of them right away to make sure you get your product shipped. I am baffled as to how this could have happened. I will make sure that you get a reprint right away. Thank you so much for letting me know. Like, you know, just put it off on the supplier. That's what I would do, honestly, because it's outside of your control, but it is affecting your brand. And keeping your ear on the ground in the Facebook groups of whatever supplier you choose. The Printify and Printful groups are really great. I love the Printify one in particular because they do so much for the community there. But what I really love is that you can search any product name in the group, just search within the group, and you'll see like hundreds of people who have already ordered samples of that product and posted pictures of it, so that you can, even if you can't afford to buy samples, you can see, you know, what potentially could go wrong, what people are saying about it, how prints turn out. And I've avoided a lot of bad suppliers that way. I won't use Swift POD at all from Printify, because if you look in the Printify groups and look at, you know, shirts printed by Swift POD, there's a lot of people who say that they turn out great, but the ones that print bad are really, really bad. So I won't touch that company. And, you know, and there's lots of alternatives. I don't have to. The cool thing about Printify is they have a lot of different suppliers. You just have to, you know, kind of sort through and decide which ones you're going to work with.
Do we charge customers 2 times for shipping if they buy a POD item and a handmade item at the same checkout transaction?
I believe so, yeah, because you would be
shipping from two places.
Right. One item will be shipping from your POD supplier, and they're going to have a shipping cost associated with that shipment. And then obviously if you're shipping from your house, then you're going to have a shipping cost associated with your product as well.
What is tiered pricing?
Tiered pricing would be like if you have a product that is handmade, that is your premium. So your handmade product hopefully is your high-end item. It's the thing that takes a lot of time. That's the thing that when you sell one, it's going to be really awesome for you. Like that, those are the things that make the most money, but they might not sell as frequently. It's a very specific type of person. So like I said, like a big, beautiful hand-painted canvas. You painted it by hand. The POD items would then be serving as the lower tier. So these are the items that, you know, maybe someone can't afford those big painted canvases, but they can afford, you know, a smaller printed canvas for, you know, a lower cost. Or if they can't afford that smaller printed canvas, maybe they can afford this teeny tiny sticker of the same artwork. So just being able to kind of stagger prices so you're offering a good variety for those who can't afford the more expensive pieces. And again, you don't have to run a business model this way. I've got plenty of, you know, people who only want to offer high-end prices and they're afraid to offer those lower prices, and that's fine. But this is just a really great way to fill in gaps if you want to appeal to a larger audience while still maintaining your overall niche.
If you have stickers made of your art, but you as the seller buy them in bulk and ship them yourself, it's not technically considered POD as far as Etsy's concerned.
No, not in that case.
No, it's not. Somebody had already answered it. You do have to list the person that prints it as,
yes,
as a production partner, but that's pretty much it. I've started building a 3D print-on-demand store. It seems like far more work and consistency is hard. Should I shift to faster POD products and go back to 3D printing later?
That's completely up to you.
Yeah, we can't answer that for you. I wish we could.
Yeah, that's 100% up to you. I think you just have to, I would sit and just kind of weigh the two options and decide what's going to work best for your schedule. And if there's other people in your household or a spouse or someone involved with your business, maybe sit with them and try to decide what's going to, I mean, ultimately don't do anything that's going to drive you insane. Like the whole like hustle culture, work till you're dead thing. I'm so against that. Like make sure that you're also taking care of yourself and your sanity and what's going to make you happy and complete. I love somebody, when I talked about book references, somebody said #alphahole.
Side question. How do you guys do drops? I haven't figured out how to do one listing at a time.
One listing? I haven't.
Someone had commented and posted that you put them all in it as a draft and then you go in and
yeah, drops or collections. I don't call them drops.
You can't like mass release them. You have to go in and publish.
Yeah, I've always, especially when I did jewelry, I would create all of the listings and draft them, and then just from my back end of my shop, when launch time came around, I would usually, I would do a countdown in my Facebook group, and I would do countdowns via email. And then I would usually activate the listings at least 1 minute before whatever time I said I was going to launch, because it takes about a minute for Etsy to get them all up. They kind of like pop in relatively slow. And I had a really big audience that like bought everything the moment it was listed. Yeah.
Just open them all on a separate tab, and when you're ready to publish, just have them ready so you can publish.
No, you can select them all from the back end.
Oh yeah, right, you're right. What can crocheters offer with POD?
I think it depends. What do you crochet?
Yeah, what are you themed around? Because crochet is more of a means to an end.
Yeah, crochet, I would, it completely depends on what your niche, crochet isn't a niche, it's an industry. So, I would try to narrow down what your overall theme is, and then maybe start looking at some of your past customers and try to narrow down on that ideal target audience, and then trying to maybe deep dive into some of the things that they've favorited in the past. You can go in right into their profiles on Etsy and see what their favorites are, see if there are any consistent themes. Like if you sell little cute crochet stuffed animals, you might go through and notice that all of your ideal target customers are favoriting items with frogs. And, you know, maybe you've got crochet frogs, but you're noticing, okay, maybe frogs are trending with my ideal target customers. Maybe you go and you create some cute little frog themed products, you know, POD products, little characters that kind of look like your crocheted plushies. Again, it really just depends on your niche.
I'm interested in promoting items from a specific book series. How do I go about getting licensed for that?
I've got a whole video on that, Tracy. If you go and you just search Starla and Marc licensing or licensed, you should be able to find it. I've got an entire video that goes through the whole process of getting officially licensed by authors. Just keep in mind that a lot of authors don't offer it. Sometimes they won't respond to you. We're licensed by Sarah Maas. We're licensed by Jennifer Armentrout. Rebecca Yaros is like impossible to get licensed with anymore. She used to, but she's really hard.
Did anyone see that sewing pattern companies are going bankrupt? I guess some have been sold to liquidators already. I had not seen that.
No idea.
Printify does stickers, hats, shirts, mugs, etc. I've never used it before. I'll be doing some shopping after this. Yes.
Plus, it's fun to make stickers.
Looking for questions.
Wow, done before noon. Unthinkful. I know, right? I think it's because I'm a little sick, so I was just like powering through. But it's nice because now I can take a breather while he finds questions.
Do you have info on the difference between E-Rank and Everbee? I'm trying to see what the differences are, if any.
Well, I'm a manager at E-Rank, so the difference is you get me. No, I can't speak on behalf of other companies because I don't use them.
And it's a contract violation to have accounts with them. So
right.
You can't do that.
However, what I can say is that at E-Rank, for one, we're a top Etsy integration. What that means is that when you go into your integrations tab directly within your Etsy dashboard, we're listed in there. We're right in Etsy's recommended integrations. We are the biggest Etsy SEO company in the world. We have more tools than any other Etsy SEO company in the world, and we have the lowest pricing option available of any other Etsy SEO companies.
On top of the money to buy more data than most of the other SEO companies.
Because we're one of the biggest, we have a larger customer base, data's expensive, which means that, we're able to get a lot of really great data just because we have a larger customer base. We have been expanding our data to other marketplaces. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but in the keyword tool, you can actually select, there's a drop-down menu and you can go through a ton of other marketplaces now. We're constantly adding new marketplaces. Anytime a new one pops up, and we start noticing there being, significant traction on it, Anthony tries to get some good data for that. So, yeah, I think that the best thing that you can do is check it out for yourself. I've got tons of videos here on my channel that talk about E-Rank and shows off, what we do.
On the note of charity fundraising, I'm wanting to start either partial sales, or I'm assuming full sales, going to charity for mental health. Not sure if I should do that or make an item that is just for donation. I mean, that's really up to you. Some people like it when you 10% of profits directly to charity, whatever. There's a lot of different ways that you do things, but it's up to you if you want to donate a percentage of like all of your sales or a collections sales or an individual's items sales. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, just make sure that you're reaching out to that charity and following their rules.
Yeah,
a lot of them have very strict rules on how you're allowed to advertise their charity. So, for example, when we do our one for St. Jude, we're not allowed to use like their logo or anything. You just have to make sure that you reach out to them and make sure that you're allowed to raise money in that way.
Yeah. Well, also, you can kind of skirt that if an organization doesn't want you advertising that you're raising money for their charity. You can just say raising money for charity and not specify. You can say raising money for mental health charities. 10% of all sales go to mental health charities. And then just keep a log of your donations as proof in case it ever comes into question. And then you don't really have to worry about it. You can anonymously donate not have to make a thing out of it. That's usually the best way, because a lot of people are real sticklers about their copyright, even in the donation world, which is a little weird, but that it is what it is.
Or just find a charity that doesn't mind.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. How long do you generally run a sale for? A weekend, a week? Depends on the circumstances. Could be a holiday sale, could be a sale to celebrate your birthday, could be a collection sale, could be a closing house sale. There's so many different kind of sales that you can do.
Typically, the steeper the discount, the shorter time I offer it. That's how I've always done it. So if I'm doing a flash sale and it's only like one day to a weekend, those I would usually, keep those really, really short, but keep the discount large. I've even done 30% off sales for like Black Friday and stuff, for my handmade business in the past. But then if you're running like, a week, 2 weeks, I would make it a smaller discount. That's just what I would do.
My shop is successful, but as I mentioned, I was thinking about separating my guy's paintings from my pottery so we could focus on just his paintings. They're worried that if they open a second shop and the second shop gets shut down, that the first shop is going to get shut down, and the first shop is successful, so they don't want to risk losing it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, Etsy does, they can connect your accounts and they can see that you've already got a positive history. And you also have to remember that a lot of times, like, even if a shop does get flagged and shut down, like during that initial like setup process, I mean, most of the time you can get that shop back by emailing Etsy. I know a lot of people have had trouble in the past, but Etsy, I'm actually making a video about it on Tuesday about how Etsy is their transparency report talking about, better customer service, basically. So look out for that video on Tuesday. But for the most part, I think that not taking action out of fear is never a reason to not take action. I'm very much a like, push through and see what happens kind of person. I understand being afraid there, but I would hope that because you already have one shop that's doing well, and because you guys are bound by the same IP, as long as both shops are following the rules, even if the second shop, when it opened, got, temporarily deactivated, you would be able to reach out to support, say, hey, I own, this shop. We just want to separate our product lines. That Etsy would, act swiftly because they can see the positive history that your previous shop has had.
All right, so I do have to make corrections. Someone was correct. Someone pointed out that you have to disclose. You absolutely do. So on the charity thing, you do have to require, for Etsy specifically, explicit permission from a charitable organization that you're going to be donating to, regardless of whether or not you disclose that you're donating to a specific organization. You have to receive consent from the organization to use their name and their trademark, and include clear information about the donation details and the organization being supported in the listing description and public shop pages. Additionally, each listing supporting a charity must represent a physical item for sale that meets Etsy seller policy. Digital downloads do not qualify as physical items for charitable donations on Etsy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that digitals were.
If you choose to donate a portion of your profits to a general cause, such as a mental health charity, without specifying a particular organization's, Etsy's policies still apply. Even without naming a specific charity, you must blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's important to note that Etsy cannot verify donations. Each seller is responsible for ensuring the correct receipt and proceeds. And also, I believe it is a crime to say you're donating and then not donating.
Well, yeah.
So just be aware of that. Don't oopsie doopsie forget, because that's also not good.
Well, yeah, because that specific charity could come after you.
Yes, exactly. Like, we never saw anything from you. What about a shop that only sells digital products like clip art and tumbler wraps? Can that do a hybrid?
I mean, you could.
I mean, for sure. A lot of people...
Your target audience is going to be very different, though.
A lot of people will do, I sell these designs because these are designs that I didn't want to put on a product, and then put the designs they want to put on a product and sell the other designs. Or do both in separate shops.
Yeah, it starts to get a little muddy there with the ideal target customers, because the person that's buying tumbler wraps isn't buying completed tumblers. So that does make it a little bit more difficult. It might be interesting. It would be harder because you'd have to do a lot of manual work there. But what would be really cool is if you created a listing that sells the tumbler wraps, but then in the variations, you offer sample tumbler, and that sample, you wouldn't be able to connect that listing to POD, so you would manually have to place the order through your POD supplier. But that way, if they're buying the wrap, but they want to see how it will look on the tumbler, they can order the sample directly from you. That way, if they're, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but that was just an idea.
And someone had asked, how do you price a handmade item? You price within the top 10% of your industry. So use a tool like eRank, find what most people are charging from for the product, and try to charge within the top 10%. You can see how people are pricing their products. Some people will be in that, like, the far extreme or the far low, people doing loss leaders, people overcharging or just typing too many zeros because maybe currency differences or whatever. Find those people that are in like the 99% in the middle, charge in the top 10% of that. If your product fits the quality standards that those products are in. If you know that you're like new into making a product and you know for sure that your version is kind of a crappier version of that product, maybe don't charge all the way up there. But for 99.9% of you, it's charging the top 10%.
Don't charge Tiffany and Co. prices if you're making duct tape wallets.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. Got my first order of gamer subs this week.
Yeah.
Not bad. Got the caffeine and error, but it's not a jittery caffeine. No, it's calm.
I've never had the caffeine one.
It's not not bad. No, it's not too bad. I think somebody had said earlier, they were talking about the inhalers, how you were I think it was Gabrielle, that they make you jittery. And that's funny that you say that, because she took it in the morning for the first time yesterday with her normal like quad shot espresso drink, and like had to go lay down because she was like having a panic attack. It was so strong.
Yeah, Q&A yesterday for eRank was not very fun. I had a hard time.
She was tweaking the whole time. You guys probably didn't know.
I had a decaf this morning, so now I'm just tired.
And this person had said they tried opening a second shop. They repetitively denied 2 second shops when we tried last year. 2 months of back and forth against a brick wall. U.S. based, no funny business. Over 10,000 items sold in the first shop, and carefully checked everything.
Yeah, I've heard it happen. I wish I knew how, but it didn't affect the existing shop, right?
No, I don't think so. They didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
Can you talk about where we need to list production partners for print on demand? I thought it was in the main settings, and you are good since there's so many.
You have the option when you select that your product is made by a third party within within each individual listing. You'll be able to add your production partner offhand without having Etsy like directly up in front of me. I'm not able to give you like a direct click map of that. But every single POD production partner that I've seen has an article on what you need to do in order to accurately list your POD product and get your production partners listed. It will be displayed, when you're editing your listings. But it'll also be down at the very bottom of your shop in your under your about section, down in your policy section.
We are running out of questions. If you guys have any questions, they do not have to be relevant to the topic at hand. It's a bit of a slower stream today, but please get them in so we don't have to get the stream early. I asked last week, but it was too late. Do you think it's a good idea to use Etsy's gift mode category names in our SEO, like book club MVP, etc.?
I'm not sure, but I would love if you tested it and let me know if it does anything. Because I doubt that those I doubt that those keywords related to sections are going to be highly searched. However, they're technically linked. Are they linked to a query? They would be linked to a query. Yes, because the URL would change based on that term. It would likely be linked to a query. Sorry, I'm getting all Etsy algorithm on you guys. Miranda, since you're a higher volume seller, I would love if you tested that, because I can see why it might help in that category. Test it, please. You are a high enough volume seller that you might be able to give us some statistical significance. If you're able to test that, and then maybe monitor those listings and let me know if you're being found for those keywords. Do you have Google Analytics set up? That would be really helpful. Yeah, I would love to know.
I used Everbee at the beginning of my analysis journey and I switched to eRank because they had better tools and were so much less expensive for what you get. And we hear that a lot.
And our customer support over at eRank, our girls, our responses, like our response time is, I think that we usually get tickets resolved within like 7 minutes or something like that. It's insane how quickly our customer service girls work, even with like, what, we've got like 1 million customers or something ridiculous like that. And our girls are amazing.
eRank?
Yeah.
We don't have 1 million customers.
We have a ridiculous amount of customers.
It's not anywhere near 1 million. We'd be billionaires if that was the case.
No, it's probably not 1 million. It's like a lot.
If you do POD and accept returns, I suggest you get a PO box for security reasons. I think the majority of business owners should have a secondary address service of some kind, whether that be a PO box, or if you're don't live in a country where you can do that, getting one of the online services that gets you a second address or whatever. I'm not a professional in that, but everybody should have a PO box for sure. Some people may want to refund and not send the product back. Contact Etsy if a customer does this.
Oh yeah, that's for anything.
Yeah, for sure. Same one. Charity stuff sounds like a pain. Another reason to have a website to not jump through all those hoops. Having a website with charity stuff gets even more complicated because you have to handle the legal, like everything about it. And if it comes back on you, it doesn't just come back on you for like the money. It comes back on you as a brand and a business. And like, it gets really complicated. Just, you have ChatGPT's free. Grok is free. Like, just find the bare minimum and at least stick to that and do as much as you can.
Right. And I mean, most charities are just super stoked that you're willing to do something for them. Like they'll let you know what you need to do.
Yeah, don't screw around when it comes to legal stuff, because when it's too late and there's nothing you can do. I was going to include a download of like, congrats, you donated with a free artwork. Might try it with my Patreon page, or separately on my website as someone suggested. Yeah,
especially if you're offering like a download and stuff, which is super cool. I love that you're doing that, but Patreon might be a good place to do that.
To price a handmade product, I usually take my time, materials, etc. into account, then research what other people are charging, and if it'll make a profit, I'll sell it. If not, I'll sell the file.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a way that you do it. I think for most people that don't sell files and they don't sell like the projects and stuff that they're working on, if you find that you're making a normal like product that's already on Etsy, and you look and you're like, there is no way I cannot price within the top 10% of your industry, then most likely there's an issue with your supply chain. You need to find better suppliers, cheaper suppliers, local suppliers. Other handmade suppliers are almost never going to be cheaper than corporate suppliers, but you need to work on your supply chain. And obviously you can sell the files, but that doesn't apply to most people. If you cannot price within the top 10% or at least close to it, then your supply chain is probably too expensive. Are POD Post-it notes worth selling?
No idea.
Can't tell you.
We do not have the knowledge of
Bro, I wish I did.
All the POD things.
If I knew everything that sold well all the time, I wouldn't be here. I would just put up a bunch of POD stuff with everything that could be made and just get rich, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, it completely depends on it. It's not just does this type of product sell. It's does it sell for the industry that you're targeting? Are you designing the product well? That's like saying, do t-shirts sell? Yeah, t-shirts sell, but what's on them? Like, it's going to completely depend on, what's on the shirt, what color the shirt is, the style of the shirt, who the shirt's for.
Christina said, part of the HA for almost a year, and stickers and bookmarks are high search items on eRank. There you go. What does eRank do? We used to be top of Google search in our niche almost by accident. Now there's lots of competition and are sometimes up there on Google and definitely above the fold on Etsy. We're a data provider. Realistically, we take data from sources that we buy, 100% legitimate. Anthony is a stickler about that, and we pay top dollar to have like clean, not dirty, stolen data. And we provide information and tools with certain perspectives for you to be able to analyze your listings and make them more data friendly for Etsy.
Right, where we are able to tell you how many people are searching for specific keywords on Etsy, as well as how many clicks on average those listings get. We are able to tell you what you can expect for competition. We've got great listing audit tools where you can go through and see how well your listings follow Etsy's best practices. We offer suggestions on, ways to improve your listings. If you hook up Google Analytics to your Etsy shop, we're able to take that data and integrate it into our tools so you can see what keywords you're being found for. There are so many tools on eRank that your best bet is to just go check it out.
Get the cheapest version.
We have a free plan
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I've got a free trial link for any of the paid plans down below. I always forget to mention that. All you got, if you decide that you don't want to pay for it, just cancel before your 30 days. You are A-okay to cancel, if it's not for you. But check out the trial link. I would recommend that if you're just starting out and you're going to pay for a plan, just pay for the basic plan. It's our cheapest paid plan. We do have a free plan, but it's very limited.
You can always upgrade.
That's true.
And it's a business deduction. It's a necessary business tool.
Yeah, but check out the link down below and check out the free trial, because I think you'll be amazed when you connect your Etsy shop and we start, like getting your data into the system and making those suggestions and things for you. You'll be amazed by, how much there is to go through.
I've tested the Etsy gift mode sections as SEO, and yes, it works. I got featured on their gift mode by targeting those terms.
All right. I would love to see more people.
I would keep that hush hush. Those are what we call industry secrets. We call those Easter eggs in the system, where somebody will say, oh, well, yeah, we've got this cool new thing. And then you just directly target that thing and you get stuck in there.
Then Starla runs and makes a big video about it.
It's not a secret anymore. That's stuff you email us with.
I won't make.
Okay, I really don't care. I think it's awesome that you figured that out.
I will wait until. So far, I've got only one case. You are the anecdotal evidence right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's not scientific proof. You might have just had a really banging product and they were going to put you there anyway.
But if I get enough data to support it, then maybe I'll publish something. But for now, I won't take away your thunder.
No. Unlike Etsy support, if you ask a question to eRank, they'll give you a quick, accurate answer. Yes, they will. eRank
Our girls are awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome. Our customer support people are awesome. I don't sell POD on Etsy, but have a few items on my website. How do you handle POD items with free shipping over $35?
I mean, it's up to you if you're gonna participate in that.
That's kind of it. You either do it or you don't.
Right. What specifically are you asking? I wouldn't participate in the free shipping over 35 for a POD business model. Just because it's not really realistic, especially if products are shipping from multiple suppliers. For POD, it's just not a realistic business model, because you're either going to have to price really, really high, or you're going to be eating the cost.
Yep. Is it okay to use a brand name in my tags for vintage? For example, a clothing item that may be good for a Game of Thrones costume. Nope. You cannot do that. Because when they use the copyright tool to find listings that contain the terms Game of Thrones, whatever Lannister, whatever house, GOT, it's going to pop up your product, and all they have to do is say click. Because you're trying to rank for their intellectual property.
You cannot use any words related to other brands at all.
Nothing in your pictures, nothing in your descriptions, nothing in your tags, nothing in your titles, nothing in your shop sections. You cannot use their intellectual property if you do not own or have the rights to that property.
Yeah.
If you want to use the Game of Thrones property, shoot an email out to HBO or George R.R. Martin. He'll write you a response 45 years from now. And then you can start selling the Game of Thrones.
You're not going to be able to get licensed by Game of Thrones.
No, you're not getting anything from HBO.
You can do, like I said, Sarah Maas, author of Court of Thorns and Roses, Throne of Glass and Crescent City. She's easy to license with. Jennifer Armentrout, who wrote From Blood and Ash. She's easy to license with. Rebecca Yaros, who wrote Fourth Wing, used to be easy to license with, but not anymore. I missed the boat on that one.
Do you guys just use email for customer support, or do you have chat you use? I've had problems with emails not being received, but always gets filled with scammers and spammers. But chat always gets filled with scammers and spammers.
Customer support for
For what?
emails. You mean Etsy?
Because the chat with Etsy will only chat with Etsy.
Wait, I'm confused. Feel free to clarify. We'll wait until
Yeah, I don't know what you mean there.
we'll wait until you clarify. We'll watch for your comment.
For alternative address, I use physical address at $7 a month. It's not a PO box. It's a regular address, and they manage packages and stuff for a fee, not sponsored.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Cool. Just wanted to share, after being part of HAA, I'm able to provide add-on products for my cryptids. I'll be adding stickers and bookmarks to 5 of my most popular listings. I'm glad to hear that.
Awesome.
Does Etsy's pattern option give you access to Etsy's traffic or no? It's like having your own website and having to direct or market your own traffic.
Yeah, so your products are still listed on Etsy. Basically, what Pattern does is it takes your Etsy shop and it makes like a little copy of it that looks like a website, but it's not. Those listings already are still in search. They still exist in Etsy search. If they're listed in your Etsy shop, they are in Etsy search. And the pattern is just a copy of your Etsy shop that looks more professional that you can send people to. But pattern isn't going to be pulling in any additional traffic from anywhere. It's just those listings are still in search.
Basic plan is great. I use the basic plan from time to time and get amazing data to figure out how to make keywords I need to focus on. I definitely recommend. My free covered by Starla E-rank is expiring soon. Yep.
You should get an email, but you don't lose any of your data.
No, you won't lose any of your data. You'll just have to renew. Do you know how much HAA will be going up this winter? We do not, and we do not know if it'll even be going up. There's a lot of factors at play, and we don't really want to talk about it because it scares people off. I don't like using scarcity tactics, and I know it sounds like one, but I don't like doing that. So
yeah,
it'll probably go up to either $1,200 or $1,500. It depends on where we're at the time, but that's not something we can really.
I'm still very much in the infancy of developing the secondary course that will justify the price of HAA going up. But again, when we talk to you guys about things like this, it's not because we're like scheming, a marketing plan or something. We're just kind of throwing our ideas at you so that you have an idea of what we're thinking. But until we make a final decision, everything that we say is just kind of like, this was just an idea. We try to be really transparent with you guys when we think that, we might be changing things like a pricing structure or, what we're working on. But until we say, okay, we are done and this is exactly what is happening, we don't know yet.
Tiny unrelated win. I finally got some interviews, so maybe I can fund a slow, sustainable build of my shop without a ton of stress. It's awesome. How much are payments? So Handmade Alpha Academy is $1,000. It's $997 one-time payment, or $199 per month for 6 months, and then once you pay it off, you get access forever.
I mean, you get access forever regardless, but.
And then I'll have, starting next week, I'll have a cutoff date that if you pay off the plan early, it's usually by the end of the 3rd month. If you pay the plan off early, I cut the final payment off, and it's the same price as the one-time payment. You have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We do not ask for homework. Don't ask to prove that you went through the material. We don't look at your shop. We don't care. As long as you're nice, we'll give you your money back as long as you contact us within the first 30 days. We're pretty nice. If you got to pause payment plans for family emergencies for a couple of months or whatever, it's no skin off our back. We don't like taking advantage of our customers. You guys know us here. We try to be as transparent as we can. We try to take care of our customers as much as we can, and we try to give you guys as much support as we physically and mentally can handle. We've only ever had to boot one person out in the entirety of all of our stuff,
like 7 years.
And it was just because they were an incredibly aggressive person. That's really it.
And that person that tried to steal the content and translate it to Spanish and resell it.
Oh yeah. And then another person I had to report to the FBI, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, those were scammers, not customers. Those were different.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. We got a couple more.
Sure.
We're nobody compared to Game of Thrones, and we do shop takedowns for reselling our IP and trying to res. Usually they freak and delete when we tell them to preserve all data for future litigation. Fun fact, if you tell people you're going to sue them, you're committing a crime.
Yeah, you can't tell them that.
You can't do that. You can request people remove your IP, but the moment you say I'm going to sue, I'm going to sue you, that's a threat. Yeah. So be careful. We've been in this ball game before.
Many times now.
Many times where we've been like, I don't know what to say other than I'm going to sue you, and that's the only thing you can't say is I'm going to sue you.
Yeah.
Now you can go to their house and put a letter in their mailbox and say, hey, please stop doing what you're doing. And it's a, hand-addressed, handwritten note that you physically put in their mailbox. There's nothing threatening about that, right?
That's a little scary.
That's a little scary. Just don't screw with people. Don't screw with people. For the record, I'm on your side here. Patreon, maybe. Probably gonna do that. We don't want to seem greedy. We were gonna launch it like around now, but I don't want to do it at the same time as the course. That feels icky. I don't want to be like, here's all the things you can pay us for. But we are still actively considering the Patreon. If we do it, it'll probably be in July after the launch, after that's all said and done. That way it's not, it feels icky doing too many paid things.
The funny thing about the Patreon is everybody's been asking for years, like, do a Patreon. I can't afford HAA, but I would love a Patreon. The second I launch a Patreon, a bunch of people are going to be like, Starla's so money hungry. God, launching another paid thing.
Oh my God, I know. Well, you also have to consider, like, it's not just us launching a paid thing. It's us
more work.
It's more work. It's more content. It's more customer service. It's people emailing us being like, I want a refund. And me saying, I literally can't give you one. It's Patreon. That's not how Patreon works. But anyway. Okay. And they clarified, if you have a non-Etsy store like Shopify, what methods of customer service would you use? Only email, chat. If you use chat, can you filter out scammers or SEO experts? Bro, if you could filter out SEO experts, our inbox would be almost empty right now. We get like 10 a day now. We can make your small business bigger. And it's like, you literally don't, you're like, I love your channel, Starla Moore, and all of her content. It's like, oh my God.
Just do email.
Just do email, bro.
Just do email.
Just do email. And thankfully, most of these scammers and people who are like just using AI to help those businesses do stuff, they're still terrible at writing emails. And you can tell just by the tagline that you don't even have to open them. And also, don't get super duper stoked when you think you're getting an email from a big company, because a lot of times those aren't real either. Sorry, it started moving. HA is worth it. I agree. Does Starla ever plan to open her necklace shop again?
Nope.
Or possibly Taylor taking over? Probably not. Here's the thing. The shop got to the point, and this is funny, even in the more recent Reddit threads, they're like, Starla shop doesn't even have any sales. And it's like, we know that her old shop is something that a lot of people want to see come back. We literally don't have the time for it. We don't have the time for the projects that we currently have going, let alone something that takes another 30 hours a week we just can't.
Let me drop a little truth on y'all, because this is how I've thought about it for years. I want you all to think back to when you were 19 years old. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are probably over the age of 25. So thinking back to when you were 19 years old, think about the things that you were passionate about. Think about what was important to you. Think about your interests. Think about how you dressed. Think about who you were at that time. For most of you, you're going to look at that person and you're going to think, wow, I am a lot different now than who I was then. I want you to remember that I started my jewelry business when I was 19 and had just had an infant. I now have a 13-year-old daughter. The person I was when I was 19 and started that shop is not the person that I am anymore. And while the necklaces were pretty, I hit a point after making them for 9 years that I started to no longer like it. And I would be a hypocrite if I told you guys, make sure that you're chasing your passions, make sure you're doing what you love, and then I wasn't doing the same. I went to school to be a teacher, not a jewelry designer. And I have found a love of teaching in a medium that is easier for me where I can do so online. I still teach in person. I'm actually going to be my high school that I graduated from, the one that that I go and work with their students. I'm actually going to be on their like big development committee next year, helping them to refine their curriculums. So I'm still very involved in teaching. And it's what I love to do the most. What I don't love to do is sit for 16 hours completely isolated from my family in my back office, breathing fumes, which I already am not going to be able to do. My health has just been too bad. My lungs are shot.
Thanks, Latvia.
Thanks, Latvia. But my lungs are shot. Making those keys was very, very difficult. And I don't think that anybody understands how difficult it really was for the amount of time that I did it. They were beautiful. I think that a lot of people look at how pretty they were and they look at the pictures and they think, what a shame. What a shame, all that wasted talent. But in reality, if I wasn't happy anymore doing it, and it's going to take me away from the thing that I actually wanted to do in the first place. The reason I didn't become a teacher to begin with was, for one, it at the time, I wasn't going to be with an infant. It wasn't going to be possible, but it also wasn't going to pay at the capacity that I needed for where I was in my life as a 19-year-old. I had to pause teaching, even though that's what I went to school to do. And now I have a little bit of authority in an industry that I'm passionate about. And people, schools, local schools want me to come talk. I'm finally doing what I love to do more than anything in the world, and I make good money doing it. And I want to keep doing it. And if I were to go back just to make the pretty things for the sake of, being an Etsy seller that still has a 1% shop, there would be people who would talk less smack about me. But I always think of it like this. Nobody asks Anthony Wolf, our CEO at eRank, what his Etsy shop is. I think that people judge me based on the fact that I stopped that shop because, for reasons that I shouldn't even have to justify. It wasn't good for my mental health. We'll just leave it at that. And I think it's really unfair to say, a lot of people, especially on Reddit, say that Starla doesn't know what she's talking about because she doesn't even have a successful Etsy shop. To me, that's akin to saying that Michael Jordan doesn't know how to play basketball.
Right.
I work every day in a more advanced field of Etsy than what anybody I know does aside from Pam Duthie. We are building the tools that make a majority of Etsy sellers, serious Etsy sellers, successful. We hold a majority of the market when it comes to Etsy sellers, who actually take their shop seriously and use SEO tools. We are the biggest SEO integration, eRank is. And it just kills me that people are like, yeah, but what's your shop?
Right.
Like,
it's insane. It's like, yeah, we don't have a shop that's crazy anymore. However, you have a shop that makes like 60 grand a year, and we have students that make 5, 6, 7 figures a year because of what we teach. Where's the difference in information coming from?
Right.
Anyway, it's not what you don't have to justify yourself. We all know.
Sometimes I feel like I need to, because we get, new people come along and they don't know my story or why I stopped selling Handmade.
That's the inevitability of selling on the internet. You can't help it. They're sad little dorks who live in their little echo chamber of depression on the Etsy and Reddit forums. And they're all just sad for themselves because they think they know what they're doing and they wish people listen to them. But they're, at the end of the day, not the people who are listening to. Kiss my butt. Can you say something like seeking legal action?
I would say seeking legal counsel.
I wouldn't say any of that. I would ask them to do that. I would ask them to stop. And then I would have a lawyer draft up a legal cease and desist, and then take legal action. I've talked with a lawyer before, man. You can't say anything like that, because if you don't follow through and they're taking all of their time, they think, oh, they're gonna sue me. I'm gonna go talk to a lawyer and spend a bunch of money preparing for litigation, and now you owe them money because you didn't follow through on your threat. Don't make threats. Just do. If you're upset, report them to if somebody steals your designs or whatever, report them to the system. If that doesn't work, reach out to them directly. If that doesn't work, talk to a lawyer for a cease and desist or whatever the equivalent is in your country, then pursue legal action. Just keep in mind, again, talk to a lawyer about this because we had a lot of issue with Chinese scammers with our jewelry business. Don't even bother. If it's in like China, Taiwan, if it's in a foreign country, particularly in the Asias or surrounding areas, don't even bother because they will not respond to your summons. They won't go to court. You'll have to fly there, hope that their court agrees with you. It's just not even worth it. Just move on. 9 times out of 10, somebody's stealing your designs because you're better at selling them, and they're not going to be able to surpass you to begin with. So it doesn't even really matter a lot of the time. Now it does. You still should try to have things taken down. You should. Whoa. Jumpy jump. Holy crap. Where'd it go? I'm a digital artist. How would you position or frame the products that are POD or prints to help elevate the shop?
I mean, we kind of discussed that during the slides. Offering a couple of lower price options of that artwork that you create, or maybe creating art that's specifically, intended to be used for things like stickers, for example. Those are going to help you to build up listing quality scores by creating products that can sell you over and over again, especially lower cost products. That helps the overall health of your store. Etsy starts to recognize that you're a shop that is actively selling and making sales. The more sales you make, the more listing quality scores grow, the more your overall customer and marketplace experience score grows, and the more other items from your shop might start ranking in search as well.
Looking into HAA, but my work pays for classes up to $5,000 per year. I would like to take courses that make me a better seller. What are 3 classes you would suggest helping Etsy POD success? Okay, first I want to make sure that people know we're not an accredited like college organization, and pretty much anybody else on the internet selling a course is not accredited. So just be sure of that. If you're talking specifically about online courses run by individuals like YouTubers, Instagram, TikTokers, they're probably not legal for you to use those funds for unless yours work specifically says therefore whatever you want, as long as it's educational. It doesn't have to be accredited, but usually they have to be accredited organizations. We are not. Most YouTubers aren't. I can guarantee probably like 99.99% of people are not accredited. Now, if you're referring to college classes, that's a little harder.
There aren't really any college classes that are going to help you with Etsy or If you're asking for courses, that's literally what HAA is. So
yeah, Handmade Alpha Academy, Christina Nicole's courses, which you also get one of her courses for free.
That's going to help with
HAA.
Product photography.
Her big course,
Maker's Method.
Maker's Method. That's one that I would highly recommend, dude. Christina is of all the other coaches that we work with, I think Christina is probably my favorite. I think photos out of most things are things that, while most people are good at creating products and they are creatives, most people aren't good at taking pictures, because you can't just be like, oh, it's a really pretty picture and my lighting's fine, take a picture. That's not, there's so much more that goes into taking a picture, and Christina is so good at doing that. We don't receive money for that, I don't think, right? We're not Maker's Method unless you sign up for her other courses first.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that we're not getting paid.
If any of our students end up later deciding to buy Maker's Method, we do get a commission on those sales.
So depending on how you join, we may or may not get it. It's
But I don't advertise her Maker's Method. It's just if you're in her pipeline and you're an alpha, we do get a commission on those.
Yeah. So you're good. We have a few more HA things on
No, you're fine. I prefer to do I would rather answer the HAA questions here.
I would love bite-sized versions of HAA as an alternative option. Not sure why people would say Patreon is greedy. We don't want to feel greedy. It's more of a neurodivergent idiocy that we have. I know 99% of people, imposter syndrome. Most people wouldn't care, but it feels icky, feels gross. We don't like offering a bunch of stuff. Some of our main people that got us into this industry literally failed because they did too many things all at once.
To make money.
And we don't want to come off like that, because it's not for the sake of money, but at the same time, we don't have time. So if we're going to continue to make extra content on top of what we're already doing, it needs to be paid for. And we want to be able to contribute a little bit more to the people who maybe don't need HAA, don't want HAA, but want to support us in a small way. I would rather do something like that. I don't want to do super chat here. I don't like super chat. I feel like it takes away from the people who don't want to give us money, if the new people, whatever. I don't want to do that. I would rather do Patreon.
And I was going to do channel memberships and put the content here, but YouTube takes 50%.
It's insane.
Or 30%,
and
50%.
Patreon takes a much lower.
I cannot believe how much YouTube takes. Like, I'm not going to put a ton of time into extra content and then have YouTube take most of it. That's crazy. At 19, I was getting married. At 19, I was depressed and wringing all the dopamine I could out of late night Halo.
I let the lawyer worry about legal. He drafts it. The foreign scammers can be impossible to locate for service, though, and they don't really care about the law. Thankfully for us, when you check out, I get your credit card number and your address. And your bank's address. So it's a little easier if you try to screw me over after you buy HAA.
Yeah, we had to go after somebody who...
Let's just not go full detail.
No, I'm not going to go into detail. Somebody who did really, really bad.
Yeah, they stole our information, and we're in a country where legal action wasn't possible, so I just reported them to the FBI. The ICE. You get called an old soul a lot.
Yes. I always have, even when I was like a very small child.
Where'd it go?
Oh.
Yeah, I lost it real quick. Hold on.
All the love. I appreciate you guys.
Critics need to touch grass or smoke it. Jesus, get calm. Relax.
Find joy.
If Latvia already did this, it wasn't Latvia. It was probably someone who is an idiot who got on a plane sick who should have just stayed home.
Yeah, that was in September, guys. It's been almost a year, and I'm still. That's why I went to a That's why I went to a pulmonologist.
Never had asthma. Probably has asthma now. That's great. I was 19, working in an archaeological dig in New Mexico, working towards my career in museums that I did enjoy for 25 years. But I'm happier working for myself, and HAA really helped me. Will HAA students get the new courses or need to pay for them? So for probably this launch, and if we have it done in December, maybe anybody who is in HAA now will get the new course.
One course. It is only one course that I'm building.
Yes, it is one course that we're building, not a bunch. You all will get it. When we start selling it, that will not be the case. They will be separate purchases, probably bundled. Again, that's why we don't like talking about this. We don't know what we're going to do yet.
But no matter what, if you are in HAA now, or if you get it in June, no matter what, you get both of the things when the new thing is done. What I just don't want is everybody emailing me saying, when will it be done? When will it be done? You said it would be done. Because I don't know. I want to do a good job. And if it takes me a little longer to do a good job, wouldn't you guys rather me put more time? It's like when a developer launches a video game and it's not even finished and it barely works. And you're just like, couldn't you guys just worked on it for one more month and actually
work on it for another month, take less breaks,
Right.
If anything, as John Pastos, by the way, loving the bookshelf.
It looks so good.
It looks so good. Almost, I'm getting ready to post it. I promise. It took a while to get all of our stuff unboxed and put on it, but
it was such a mess over there.
Yeah, we still have a mess of boxes of stuff that I've put together, all my collector's editions, things.
John sent us an awesome bookshelf.
It's amazing.
It looks so
good. He
said,
if anything, most if not all of the sales of your students are credited to you. I joined HA with 2,000 sales and we're up to over 11,000. Which, by the way, this is not small, cheap items.
These are expensive, large pieces of furniture.
And he said that's a win teaching. We absolutely love you, and I'm going to be hitting you up soon for some more furniture. I would like to purchase some. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. For HA, you need to take action and do the course.
Yes, that's the big thing, man.
Just do it, man. We had somebody refund last time around, and they said that it was like, oh, it doesn't seem like it's fit for POD, and it's like it's literally doesn't. That tells me that you
sell POD.
If you join and you email me for a refund, which I don't care, and you say it doesn't seem like it's suited for this, then I know for a fact you haven't looked at the material, because that's not the case.
Right. I think people hear the words Handmade Alpha Academy and they're like, this isn't for POD. No, you are making a business.
We're handmade alphas. That's it.
You are the alpha. You are making your brand.
When I joined HA in 2020, I had 296 sales. I'm about to hit 18,000. You guys don't need to justify anything to anyone.
I appreciate it. Emily, I think I'm posting. Did I make a post with a testimonial of yours? I feel like I did, or I'm making one. I've already got it all scheduled out, but I know I'm making some testimonial
My son
posts.
said he supports your mustache. It's running for president. It'll need all the support it can get. Sounds like long COVID. She did not have COVID, otherwise we would suspect that too, but she does not have COVID.
Yeah, I had pneumonia.
It's most likely pneumonia that triggered an innate asthma that she already had that just needed something to trigger it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We're
You're doing a Halloween trend stream soon. We will be. I'm actually going to do a shorter video first, though.
Like we usually do.
Yeah, I'm going to do a short video first, a Tuesday video, probably in the next, probably the week after Critique Week. And then I'll do probably a Halloween stream after that because Halloween trends are coming out so much faster this year. So
I'd vote for it. I'd vote for the stash. Yeah, it's running with Vermin Supreme as the vice. I really like his dental policies and his energy policies.
Yeah. And his boot.
And his boot. Yes, for the boot.
All right, guys.
Kick the others to the curb. That's our okay. This is getting stupid. We're tired. Neither of us really feels all that good this week.
And I still got to record.
So. AKA opens on the 14th, y'all. Open for 10 days. We already did our spiel twice, but figured I'd say.
Hey, there's a link down below if you want me to email you to let you know when it's open because you're afraid you'll miss it because we only open it for 10 days. You're in it for life. It's a lifetime access program, but we can only...
life.
Right, yeah.
Our life, not yours.
We're young, though. We're young and spry.
We're young. A lot of teen drivers in our town, though.
Well, we've got people who will take it over. We've got action plans in place.
Sure.
Anyway, guys. What are they going to do? Sue us? We're dead, right?
Right. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
No, it's
we got backups.
Once you're in for life, but we can only take people for 10 days because Mark and I are only 2 people and we're tired. So
I'm already tired.
We keep the enrollment windows really short, but if you're afraid that you're going to miss it, there is a link down below where you can sign up and I will drop you an email right when doors open. We'll probably do midnight on June 14th.
At sometime around midnight, June 14th.
So the night of the 13th, June 14th, right when the clock strikes midnight. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out.
Sorry we're so low energy. We love you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Decent stream.
Yeah.